and you're very welcome to it. How you doing? I look today like a cross between Freddy Krueger and Pinhead from Hellraisers 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You see, every 2 weeks I get an ordinary razor like a Gillette or a Bic and I shave my head. And this morning I made a balls of it. I've got plasters on 4 different points in my head. So I look like I look like Jason Voorhees, unmasked. I look terrible with me baldy head on me. At least once a year, I make a pilgrimage to the graves of my ancestors and I kneel before the headstones of my great-grandparents and I sing, "Why didn't you tell me I'd go bald? Why didn't you tell me I'd go bald?" It's not good being bald when you cut the bejesus out of yourself with Bic razors. Anyway, there you are. So tell me this and tell me no more. Have you been up all night long? You haven't? I wasn't, but I was interested this morning to see how it was going and how it was being reported. It's back to the year 2000. Races to the Supreme Court to stop the counting. Threats of lawsuits and Supreme Court petitions. Trump tweeting about dodgy ballot dumps. His supporters lapping it up. Biden, as in Joe Biden, his campaign team said this afternoon that Biden will reach the magic number of 270 electoral college votes today, and thus later today, Joe Biden will declare himself to be president. Yeah. Biden's campaign manager, did you see her this afternoon doing a press conference, resplendent in a pair of shabby tights and black cowboy boots? Did you see her? Wow. Her name is Jen O'Malley Dillon. Jen O'Malley Dillon is her name. Full name, Jennifer Bridget O'Malley Dillon. In case you didn't guess, she's of Irish ancestry. Her great-grandparents came from Galway. A lot of American men like the Irish girls. You might know this. You might not. The Yanks, the male Yanks anyway, are suckers for the freckles. So just her name must be orgasmic for them. Jennifer Bridget O'Malley Dillon. Just say your name, love, over and over again. Did you see her? They reckon later on this evening he'll have the numbers. Kanye West conceded defeat. What took him so long? Eh? He was only on 12. He was only on the ballot paper in 12 states, I believe. Maybe it was a marketing exercise to conduct some market research as to whether his next album would go down well in those states. I don't know. Kanye's candidacy reminded me of my time in commercial radio. Local elections, you have to love them. You have the established parties, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, the Socialist Workers' Party, the Labour Party. And back in the day, you used to have the Progressive Democrats. Remember them? Jean Ann? The PDs. But then you also had the Egypt who puts his name down. You know, anybody in Ireland listening to this will know there's the Egypt who puts his name down, who pays the deposit to get on the ballot, even though there's more chance of Shane McGowan turning down a double vodka than he has of winning a seat, but he does anyway. And he gets a Ford Escort and he puts a couple of pairs of speakers on top of it and he goes around screaming at his neighbours. And he gets 22 votes and he loses his deposit. Anyway, Sky and the BBC in this country are leaning towards a Biden victory. Chaos. That'll be interesting. Although in fairness, civil unrest was a given. Whatever the result, but the result doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Don't kid yourself. Two cheeks of the same arse. Funny exchange between Piers Morgan and Nigel Farage of the newly rejigged Brexit party. It's the Reform Party now. On GMB Good Morning Britain this morning. Did you see it? It was all about bleach. Have a listen.
Let me just jump in on COVID-19 because I'm sorry, his handling of this pandemic has been an utter disaster. And I said this to him the other day. And that's one of the reasons we had a little falling out, because I just thought that his whole strategy of taking this so lightly, not dealing with it properly, has led to America now having 220,000 deaths, the worst record by far of anywhere in the world. The infection rates through the roof in most states now. His refusal to mandate people to wear masks, to tell them from the podium, take it seriously, wear your mask, socially distance, all that kind of thing. His nonsensical cure theories like, bleach and so on. All of it, to me, was woefully irresponsible.
No. End this nonsense. He never mentioned bleach, Piers. Do not.
Well, he did. I heard him.
Do not allow your viewers to believe that.
We literally all heard him, Nigel. What are you talking about?
Are you seriously telling me that he said bleach?
Yes.
Do you not remember?
You are wrong.
Do you not remember?
You are wrong, wrong, wrong.
I still win arguments like that with Caroline. It's a brilliant strategy. La 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 la. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong, I said. It's a brilliant strategy. Go on then. What happened next?
You don't remember Donald Trump turning to his coronavirus expert and saying, you know, you can now inject people with this stuff, this bleach.
Piers, you're talking... no, I won't use the word, all right?
Bollocks is the word.
All right? You're talking utter rubbish. And on his handling of the crisis, he closed the flights. He stopped the flights coming in from China and other countries that carried the infection whilst we continued an open door at Heathrow Airport. Now, I'm not saying that everything he said about this is right, but he did lock down America, tried his best to stop the virus from coming in, but 7 months have gone by. We now have better medical treatment. We also know that what lockdown does isn't just bankrupt and ruin the self-employed and sole traders, doesn't just damage mental health on a vast scale, leads to huge domestic abuse, massive increases in suicide, but also in health terms, because lung cancer diagnoses in Britain are down 75%, heart diagnoses down 60%.
There are definitely consequences to lockdown, and as you know, we are experiencing that in the UK.
I just want to clarify one thing. What I'm talking about is when Trump back in April said, then I see the disinfectant, which is bleach, where it knocks it out in a minute. Sorry, bleach is disinfectant, Nigel.
Do you know what?
Bleach is disinfectant.
Grow up, stop being fake news.
Yes. Well, the obvious thing to do was to play it back for Nigel.
It was interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors.
Sorry, Nigel, have I made that up?
Yes.
Okay.
We just saw the clip.
No, it's okay. It's okay. If you think,
I'm sorry,
honestly,
you are sinking to the gutter by talking about bleach. You know you are.
So Donald Trump was talking about bleach.
Well, Trump wasn't really talking about bleach. He didn't mean bleach. He was listening to something. Trump watches a lot of YouTube videos, and he'd gotten some information about, it wasn't hydroxychloroquine, it was MMS, was it, or something. And obviously he doesn't know anything about that. He didn't mean bleach. He didn't mean domestos, which kills all known germs dead. 99.99% of germs it kills. It was surreal today. I watched Philip Schofield screaming at a woman called Tony. Tony was in Palm Springs. Half deaf, God love her. She looked fairly sweet though. She had about $3 million of plastic surgery. You know the type. She founded the Trumpettes. And the Trumpettes' mission is to show women how lovely Donald J. Trump really is and how cuddly he is. Good luck with that. You have more chance of convincing women to go on a date with Peter Sutcliffe, to be honest. Now, Schofield was... I'm not going to play the clip. He was roaring at this woman to shut up and listen to him. Pure vaudeville, this. Closer to home, we'll leave the election there for the moment. We'll watch later on with interest to see if Biden gets to 270. Doesn't matter whether he does or doesn't. Closer to home, MPs have been debating all day the imposition of the second lockdown, which will begin at midnight tonight, after MPs have voted for it, which they will, dear listener. They will. There are a few Tory backbenchers disgruntled, and they won't vote with the government, but Labour will. Let's hear Sir Peter Bottomley. Peter Bottomley. Peter. Now, Peter woke up during the debate today and he wiped the drool off of his chin. And he looked around sheepishly and he started talking about golf, swimming and the squared circle.
I want to come to the points where I believe we've not got it right. I do believe that two people playing tennis separated by a net can do so safely, and safely as they can if they went for a walk. I think the golf restrictions are unnecessary. There's obviously a responsibility on the club or the provision of the premises. I think that should be possible. If I can go for a walk with a dog, or taking a walk with a cat, or fly after my parrot. I haven't got any of those. I think I ought to be able to go around with golf clubs as well. And there are interesting questions as to whether swimming, as long as you don't have infection risks in changing rooms, can be safe. In fact, basically, all these separated sports, I think, should be allowed. The more intimate ones, like wrestling, I can see the problem with, and other recreations of that kind. But I believe that we ought to be able to make provision for people to get exercise, doing the kinds of things that I give away. A wrestler?
Yes, he gave away to a wrestler. And that wrestler was the 350-pound glorious lady of wrestling that is Jess Phillips, who said, yes, wrestling should continue. That's how Jess Phillips sounds. To me, anyway. She's in a tag team with Stella Creasy. They fight misogyny together and other things like that. Also dissenting today on the plans to impose a second lockdown, which will basically go uncontested, was Ian Duncan Smith, the former Tory leader. Here is Ian Duncan Smith. Briefly, we won't subject you to too much of it.
For example, when the SAGE start talking about 4,000 deaths to be reached by December, it's now quite clear that even Professor Whitty has said yesterday, I think all of us would say that the rates would probably be lower than the top peak. I think there's been some rather overblown rhetoric on this. Well, it was their overblown rhetoric, in case he missed the point. And the people that will be damaged by this will be the poorest in society. They will be damaged because they lose their jobs. The loss of a job is not just an income problem. It's self-respect. It's a status. It's what you do. It's how you stand up in front of your family and show them that you are bringing, as it were, the money back to the house and improving their lot. All of these are damaging. And this decision, I believe, was not necessary now. All the data now that is unravelling, I'm afraid, is unravelling on the basis that now we move to a full lockdown, the damage on the economy is enormous. Can I simply ask my honourable friend this as I close? Can we now please have that economic impact assessment urgently to show what the damage will be to our economy, the livelihoods, the lives and the people's well-being and mental status? But I will oppose it tonight.
The government is not going to produce a study. It isn't going to produce a document, you know, a proper analysis of what lockdown 2 is going to do to people's health, people dealing with other health problems. Of course, the government won't do that, because any such analysis would show quite clearly that the lockdown itself will be far, far, far more harmful than any respiratory infection could ever be. Harmful to our health. The economic damage is almost immeasurable. It's beyond the scope of the imagination of most people, in my opinion. Lots and lots of tweets about stuff. Thanks for tweeting me about stuff. Continue to do so. It's at Richie Allen Show on Twitter. I have a tweet there calling me a misogynist. Listen, this is the level. This is the level. I've said it before. Childish jokes about the weight of Jess Phillips is the level on this programme. It's not highbrow stuff. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's as childish goes. Hi to Gerard. Hi to Alan, based ninja in Liverpool. Hi to Gail. How you doing, Gail? To Patrick. To Charlie Girl. How are you? Faisal. Hi to Darren. Hi to Dean Smith. Thanks for your email today, Dean. It was a lovely email, mate. Came at the right time. Hi to Guy. How you doing, Guy? I put a tweet out earlier on, so I did. And I meant it when I said it. I'm absolutely at my limit now. I'm at my limit. The living end. With people who begin every sentence or begin every answer with the word so. It is so feckin' irritating. I want to smack them. Silly. You know these people, you ask him a question and they start off with, so, well, what do you do for a living? So, you want to just punch him right in the mouth. Say so again. I dare you. I double dare you. Stop it. Somebody calling themselves Orwell 1984 on Twitter has blamed Mark Zuckerberg on it. Yes, when in doubt, blame the Jews. That seems to be the done thing. Who do we blame? I'm not sure. The Jews. I'm not sure Mark Zuckerberg was the first person to begin every sentence with the word so. Not having it. This is the Richie Allen Radio Show. Coming up, hi Natalie Stacey. How you doing, Natalie? Coming up on the programme a little bit later on, Dr. Thomas Binder from Baden in Switzerland. He is a respected cardiologist. As far as I know, I've been looking into his background. I think Thomas did some training in Vienna. Lovely places, eh? Vienna in Austria. I've passed through there. It's wonderful. And Salzburg, of course, as well. Baden in Switzerland, wonderful places, wonderful. Hi to Rude Boy Marcus. How you doing, Rude Boy Marcus? Hi to Mark Wild. It is 20 minutes past the hour. Gareth Icke joins me very shortly, live from Derbyshire. If there's something you'd like me to mention to Gaz, please tweet it to me now. Tweet him as well. He's on Twitter. You know that. Many of you follow him there. Hi to Laurie Hatfield. How you doing, Laurie? How's it going for you in the madhouse that is the United States of America? What do you think is going on? What's likely to happen? Biden with 224 electoral college votes as it stands. The Donald with 213. But projections are that these postal ballots that are being opened, these postal votes, these envelopes, which have to be seen and checked and signed off by at least 2 people, that Biden is more likely to get the lion's share of those. And therefore, Biden might reach 270, if not later this evening UK time, maybe early tomorrow morning. I don't bloody well know. I don't care either. It won't matter a jot. The establishment, the system, the agenda will roll on, irrespective, irregardless, as they say in America, irregardless of who's in the White House. Here's a wonderful bit of music from Gareth Icke. I love this tune. It's called Jura. And after it, on the other side of it, the man himself joins us live from Derby. Great stuff. Back in a few minutes. The Richie Allen Show. That is one of my favourite songs of recent years. It really is. It's called Jura from the album 3 by Gareth Icke. Great tune. Available at all good online retailers, Amazon.com as well. He is a singer-songwriter, former international football player, amazingly, author, podcaster, and you can find out all you need to know about him at iconic.com, which is a fairly new platform which is packed full of broadcasters and podcasters and bloggers challenging the mainstream media narrative on absolutely everything. Great to welcome back to this programme. First time in a long time, but thrilled he's back, the one and only Gareth Icke. Welcome back, pal. How are you?
I'm good, mate. It's nice to be back. I knew you'd play that song, Richie.
I love it. And I do. You know I love that. I've never been a sycophant. I love that song. And I'll give you a laugh. You laugh at this. The song is on a laptop that isn't in the studio with the album 3, which is a great album. And it isn't in the playout system here, even though I played it about 6 months ago for some reason. So I bought it today for 79p. There you go.
Thank you very much, mate. Hopefully I'll get about 40p in about 8 months then.
That was my next question. How much of that will you get? Listen, stupid question to kick off. Really stupid question. How difficult is it for a working musician, a singer-songwriter like yourself, very active and very much in demand, and I've seen you live on a couple of occasions and you were brilliant. How difficult is it not to be able to do that?
Oh, yeah, it's frustrating, really frustrating. I was really enjoying what I was doing, Richie, as well. Before, like the turn of the year and stuff, I was doing a lot of stuff with the Arts Council, and I was working a lot in areas around Derbyshire with kind of, I don't like saying like impoverished people because it just kind of makes them sound helpless, but it's not like that. It's just areas, old mining communities, places where, you know, industry's died, and so if you're worried about paying the rent, you're not giving your kid cello lessons, basically.
Yeah.
So these kids didn't get the art and that spoken word and music and everything, and so we were taking it to them, and it was great, and obviously that's all stopped now.
What sort of things, guys? What sort of things were you doing with that? This is fascinating. Were you showing?
Well, it was really interesting, Richie. Like, and I'll tell you what, mate, it was absolute sort of wheat from the chaff as well. So this project we did, it was called Travelling Band, and this guy Alex Blood, who's a musical genius, he came up with this concept, and so we basically had to turn up in a town or a village about midday, have a cup of tea, sort of liaise with all the other artists. There was 8 of us at the start, and it was like, right, off you go then. And so you had to walk around the village or the town, meet the locals, go and have a pint, initiate conversation with people. And then at 7 p.m. that night, you'd have to perform the song you'd written about them to them.
Go on.
And obviously some of these areas are like, kebab and a fight, a Great British Night sort of places. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, it was, it pushed me completely as a songwriter out of my comfort zone, and I embraced it. And by the end, there was 3 of us. 5 had dropped out and gone, nah, it's not for me, sort of thing. So we did that, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And we ended up extending that project, and we were due to start that in May actually this year. Obviously that didn't happen, to extend it even further. So it's one of those things, Richie. A lot of my mates, musicians, they did like live streaming gigs, and they've done it like that throughout. And I did one, and I hated it, mate. I hated it. I was just sort of sat in my bedroom with my guitar, looking at a computer screen, thinking, what am I doing? And you could see like little likes popping up and little comments, but you couldn't see the whites of anyone's eyes, and you couldn't see if anyone was enjoying it. There's no interaction, which is for me what it's all about.
You can't feel the audience, can you? You can't feel them. There's no energy exchange. There's no atmosphere, I would imagine.
No, it was. I felt like I was on Babe Station or something.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It was just like I just felt weird sat in front of this camera where you don't know who's watching you or how many. It's just, it was very odd. I didn't enjoy it, so I've not done it since. I might try it again in this lockdown, because you should try everything twice, shouldn't you? I think, but
give it another go.
Yeah.
My great friend Jean Ann, the actress, has said, fascinated by that, continuing the old bardic tradition, singing songs about the people you meet. Lovely that's an amazing thing. It's a shame that has come to a conclusion, but maybe not. Maybe calmer, head-stainer ideas will, I don't know, come about in the new year. And I'm not giving up just yet on.
I'm not. Once you give up, you're dead, aren't you?
You're finished.
You got to go down swinging if you're going to go down. But we had loads of ideas. Like there was one really cool idea that me and Alex had together to take, sort of, because it's all coal mines where we are here. Well, it used to be. In my old house, I live in an old coal miner's cottage, like a terraced cottage thing, and we had the idea of having us lot here swapping places with a load of people from Cornwall. So you got the tin mines down there, you got the coal mines here. We'll go down to Cornwall. Basically, I was looking for an excuse to go to the beach, mate, if I'm honest, and drink some cider. But it was like, we'll just swap places. We'll go there. They can come up here. They write songs about Derbyshire. We write songs about Cornwall.
Brilliant.
And call it Minecraft, because that's kind of, that I thought that
pretty
was quite
cool.
a quirky name, and it worked. Yeah. But then, but like you say, hopefully, I'm not giving up either, mate. Hopefully that's something we can do maybe next year.
Sounds good. Now, my listeners know all about you. Of course they do. And they know that you, of course, are across davidicke.com and David's, obviously his social media channels. And I've been dismayed, I suppose, and pissed off to report in the last couple of years, speaking events being cancelled. Lately, of course, the YouTube and Facebook pages and the YouTube channel being deleted. And staggeringly enough, I believe overnight, the Twitter account for David Icke has been suspended. And amazingly enough, it's been suspended for reporting a very basic fact, and that is that the army will be used to help roll out a trial of a mass testing program in Liverpool. I'm amazed at that, Gareth. Well, tell us about that. What went on overnight?
Well, do you know what? Right, well, I'll start from the beginning. So basically, what tends to happen is you'll get a message from Twitter. They'll say, delete this because of, it breaks some ridiculous community guidelines or whatever. So you can either delete it or you can contest it. And once you delete it, then they'll tell you how long you're banned for. So it's like, It's a 7-day ban. But if you contest it, then obviously, they can take as long as they want. And they're using COVID as a massive excuse for, we've got less staff. So they take as long as they want to, to kind of decide whether or not. So what I do, if it's a big story and it's they're banged to rights, then I will appeal it. If it's something little and it's not that relevant, it's kind of like, okay, right, well, we'll just take the hit and delete that then. But with this one, it was ridiculous because, like you said, it was a story from the Liverpool Echo.
Yeah.
Explaining how obviously the army were going to be rolled out to do mass testing in Liverpool. That was then about 2 hours later confirmed by Boris Johnson in a press conference. And so when they obviously, I got the email through, we've suspended your account based on this. I appealed it and I went back to him and I said, look, here's the link. It's a Liverpool Echo. It's a mainstream source. And the Prime Minister's literally just confirmed it. And so I waited and I said to my dad, I said, they've gone for us again, but we'll see what they say. And then I just started seeing the usual suspect crowing. You know, your Centre for Counting Digital Hate and all that sort of nonsense, crowing about the fact that he'd been, you know, permanently suspended. And so I was like, hang on. So I went into the Twitter, and it all just showed that, no, this is still under appeal. You know, we haven't decided on this post yet, blah, blah, blah. And yet the BBC were already saying that they'd spoken to Twitter, and Twitter said it was a permanent ban. And still to this minute where we speak, Twitter have not once told us that it's a permanent ban or anything. They've just deleted it.
And because of what happened with Facebook and YouTube and Google, you've probably been, I mean, it hasn't changed what you post and how you do it, but you've probably expected this anyway, haven't you? This is no surprise.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, mate. Like, me and Dad had a chat about it about 2 weeks ago, and he even did like a podcast on the fact that it was, you know, inevitable. To be honest, it was it's the Centre for Counting Digital Hate. You've got obviously a campaign against anti-Semitism and all that lot. They've been going for us for years. And then they sort of quietened off while they were trying to destroy Corbyn. And obviously they've done that now. So yeah, I think the eyes have come back on us again.
Yeah, I did see the campaign against anti-Semitism, which masquerades as a charity, but it isn't really a charity. Again, to use your term, crowing about it. I tweeted him to say, what are you crowing about? You didn't, it's got nothing to do with you. It's to do with the tweet around coronavirus. Gareth Icke is our guest, folks. You'll find all you need to know about Gareth on Twitter. Go to iconic.com, ICKONIC.com. Hear a lot of great things about the content on there. I've seen quite a bit of it myself. I've had many of the content creators on this program as well. Gareth is a terrific singer-songwriter. I'm not just saying that, he really is. Former athlete, but he's still an athlete, personal trainer. Love what you were doing with the Arts Council and all of that. How do you feel about what's happening? You grew up with your dad and reading your dad's books and travelling with your dad and listening to him and watching him address people and speak to people. And I know from listening to your dad's appearances in the last 12 or 18 months, there's nothing remotely triumphalist about his approach to this. There's nothing remotely, that looks like, you see, there's none of that. He seems dismayed and probably determined to keep ploughing through it. How do you feel, Gareth? Because the things that he's been writing about, saying that we will get to a point where tyranny will reign and people will be forced to do things they don't want to do. It's happening now. How do you feel about that personally? How does it impact on you?
Annoyed, if I'm honest. But I flit. I have almost like Jekyll and Hyde. Like, some days I'll wake up and I'm just absolutely buzzing. I'm like, no, we're going to win this. And then I'll have a funny five. Like last week I was supposed to speak in Birmingham and I just had a proper weird, kind of meltdown about stuff, and stuff just gets on top of me. I wasn't eating right. I was drinking too much and just generally not looking after myself, not exercising as much as I would. And in the end, I just was like, nah, this is too much. But then, 24 hours go by and then you're like, right, I'm ready now again. So it's like that. It's really frustrating because you just want to kind of shake people a bit. Yeah. But then I have to remember also at the same time that, John across the road didn't grow up in the same way I did. So he's not been exposed to this information. So it seems so fantastic to these people. That, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like so I'm looking at them thinking, are you being serious, mate? Like, it's right in front of you. But I need to remember to keep myself in check, Do
you know what I was getting at? I was getting at the fact that he took ridiculous levels of stick, and it would have driven lesser men or women to jump into a river or jump off a cliff. And you and I spoke about this privately years ago. We had a drink, and you were very philosophical about it. But it obviously impacted on you and your brother and sister and your mum. And now it's being borne out as being true. It must be a weird place for you to be, because on the one hand, you must feel like saying to certain people, listen, the things you said about my father many years ago, which impacted on us when we were kids, look at what's happening now. But on the other hand, maybe there isn't time for that, for you to do that. And you just plough on with the work and the efforts to make people realise what's happening. Because I think if I was in your shoes, I'd be sending a lot of emails to people, and saying, listen, you said some dreadful things which had serious consequences, or could have had serious consequences, about my father. And yet, here we are today, pretty much where he said we might be. That's what I was kind of getting at, but we don't have to go there.
I'll be honest, mate, I've sort of written that off, those those kind of people. I have had a lot of people over the years that, you know, gave me stick in school or whatever that I'd now consider like proper friends and allies in terms of this information. They're like, you know, I've had it over a few years actually, where people just come up to me and haven't gone, mate, like I had no idea. And they're now like, I'm looking at them on social media and they're the ones pushing this, going like, everyone wake up, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that's good. But then on the media side of it, you know, those people that said all that stuff back then, to be fair, they've just doubled down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not seeing, I mean, the odd bit here and there, but I'm not seeing any kind of, oh Christ, yeah, he was right, coming out of any mainstream outlets. And I don't, you know, I don't think that will ever happen, because I don't think they'd ever, you know, I don't think they'd have a job if they did it.
You've answered Daniel's question. He said, does Gareth think David will see mainstream recognition in his lifetime? You've answered that. I mean, I did watch with great interest Eamon Holmes, who was a big name in British television presenting, and he'd done a couple of fabulous interviews with David, with your dad, a couple of years ago, where he conducted himself with aplomb, as any decent broadcaster should do. He asked some interesting questions and listened with respect to the answers. But he's not going to have the Telegraph or the Daily Mail any day soon saying, look, we have to accept that on these issues David Icke got it right. So yeah, we're not going to see that. You've done some.
Get that. He doesn't talk to the mainstream now. He's done with it. So, I mean, I got an email a couple of days ago from Independent, and a guy that writes for the Independent writes for Vice, and it's like, are you having a laugh? Do you know what I mean? Those two outlets. So I just went back to him. I was very polite, and I just said, because he might be well-meaning, like he's you know, a freelance journalist. I said to him, I said, mate, like you might be coming in with the greatest of intentions, but trust me, mate, it's not going to happen. Either it won't get to print, or it will get so ridiculously flipped and changed that it will just be a hit piece. And so, why would my dad
There's
do
nothing
that?
in it, is there? When the print media comes calling, I mean, you've had a few slaps, broadsides from the broadsheet newspapers of late. I saw an article about you and Jamie, your brother in the Times, which was a bit pathetic. Yeah, the thing to do is to not talk to them. You've stood at Wembley Arena. I was there, facing down 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people, and you sang. I saw you recently speaking to an enormous crowd in Trafalgar Square, and I'll be honest now, these are the things I couldn't do. And then I saw you running away from a hissing cockroach stood alongside your daughter. What the hell is that all about? Somebody sent me a retweet of you. Was it at a petting zoo, running away from a hissing cockroach? What's going on, guys?
I tell you what, mate, I'd give me 45,000 people over a cockroach any day of the week. Well, I'm not great with them, I have to say. You're
not great with it. I've called the fire brigade for a daddy long leg. So and by the way, for anybody listening, if you're going to call the fire brigade for a spider, tell them the chimney's on fire. They don't tend to come out for spiders. No, I saw that picture. You've got since we last spoke on this programme, you and your wife Gemma have been blessed. It must be. I don't want to sound pious. You have been blessed with a beautiful girl whose name is Elora. She's fabulous. Here's the question that every dad in the world has been asked, and it's a bit boring, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Does your philosophy as a man change overnight? You know, one night you go to bed, you know that Gemma is basically just about to go into labour. You're Gareth Icke. Then you have a baby girl. Does your outlook on life change immediately?
Completely.
How?
Completely, yeah. And I know it does sound cliche, but yeah, absolutely. I don't see anything the same anymore. In a good way. You know, it's all of a sudden you're not important anymore. That you're sort of irrelevant, and everything is about them. Which is what makes this, you know, again, the fight even harder, because it's like, you know, you're fighting for obviously your kids.
Yeah.
Although I am in the doghouse at the minute because someone cut me up at a roundabout, and I might have sworn, and she's been repeating what I said for the last 2 days. So
lovely.
Yeah, Gemma's not best impressed with me at the minute.
I wouldn't imagine. Gemma's a teacher, of course. So she's in the car, you get cut up, and you do you do the bloke thing, you start screaming. Fair enough, all right. I'm not going to castigate you.
Yeah, it was a one-liner, but I got in even more trouble because then when she said it in front of me, I laughed because it just sounded funny coming out of a 2-year-old. But obviously, we need to sort of ignore that and hope she doesn't repeat it in front of other adults.
You need to nip it in the bud. So you look at her, and we don't have children. Hopefully, in the future, we will. So you're motivated by what sort of landscape will Elora be looking at when she's 16, 17, 18, however she goes in education or not, or whatever she does. That's what motivates you. What sort of planet will be left if we don't get off our arses and do something about this?
100%. I mean, I've said this to people before. Like, for me, like, you know, I've been around the block. I'm old enough and ugly enough to deal with whatever comes to me. I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? Worst case scenario, everyone can just stick it, and I'm, you know, going to sod off up to the Highlands of Scotland and live in a cave. Like, I can look after myself. But then when you have, you know, such a helpless, essentially, you know, she's 2 years old, being that you're responsible for, then obviously the game changes immediately. And I find myself getting angrier as a result, you know, but righteous anger, do you know what I mean? Like, fired up, like, as opposed to just kind of, you know, punching the door. It's kind of like, no, you know, I'm angry now. I've got fire in my belly. And I think she's put that there more. Absolutely, mate. And it is odd, Richie, like, and I've had this conversation with quite a few people throughout this whole period. And obviously, you know, yourself and your listeners not included, but where are the men? It's really odd. Like, I don't know if it's because of social conditioning that we've just had this sort of, you know, toxic masculinity. Everyone's had it beaten out of them. But these protests, they're all run by women generally.
Yeah.
They seem to be the ones standing up, and the men are sort of, you know, walking around with their masks on, with their heads down, not doing anything. It is odd. I'm wondering when the fire's going to get in there.
Well, there's been
presumably, you know, when they lose their job.
There's been an emasculation, hasn't there? I mean, again, if you want to refer to your father's writings over the years, there has been an attack on the masculine and masculinity in general. I've discussed it with people on my programme. I'm amazed at that. And you know, I didn't think of it until you said it there. It didn't occur to me. But as you said that, I'm thinking now of the various protests around the country. And you're absolutely spot on. Invariably, they've been run by women. Some of them have come on here to talk about these things. I don't know where the John Waynes and the Gary Coopers are, Gaz. I don't know. But they need to step up, because I hate to use cliches. I try to avoid them as best as I can. But this is the last chance, I think, isn't it? We're here now. Can't wait for anybody 100%. Else to do it. We've got to do it now.
100%. You know, people like yourself, my dad, Alex Jones, all these people have been talking about, you know, in their various different guises and stuff, talking about what's coming and what's coming and what's coming. And yeah, it's here now, mate. And it's kind of, it's well and truly here. We're in the middle of it. And, you know, people have got a lot of decisions to make of whether they want to go down swinging or whether they want to just, you know, cower in the corner and you know, take what's coming to them. I know what I'm doing. And you're the same, obviously, Richie. You
will know, because on the Iconic platform, your own podcasts, the ones you do with your brother and with Richard Willett and others, they get enormous viewing numbers and listening numbers. I know historically davidicke.com gets enormous. It would get a massive amount of attention. You go to these protests, you see 40, 50, 60,000 people turning up. And I know that you will go around Derby. And I'm guessing, but I know, I don't have to guess, most people you meet will say, excuse my French, this is a load of bollocks. That frustrates me, guys. It's not as if people don't know. You hear anecdotally from people that this is bollocks. I meet people, we've got work going on in the house. You know, and most of those people that do work around the house, they haven't a clue who I am or what it is I do. And I hear them saying this is bollocks and I don't believe this virus is deadly. That's a great thing, but it's also frustrating. Do something then. Don't obey. Don't comply. Open your bloody business. Open it. You know, put the ball back in their court, guys. Make them. Force them to send the old bill around to close down your pub. You know what I mean? It seems like everybody knows what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. But you hear that all the time. I know it's rubbish, but what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. Summit. Do Summit. I agree completely. And I know a few pubs and I know a few shops that are staying open, a few gyms that are staying open, and define it, and we'll see what happens. But I agree completely. You know, like my village, like we used to have 3 pubs in my village. There's 2 now because one died in the first lockdown and it never reopened. But the other two, I can see maybe one might survive this lockdown. One of them certainly won't survive it. And you just think, if you two stayed open, both of you, and then the next village, you've got 3 pubs there. Okay, you will stay open. And then Belper's down in the next valley. So how many you got there? I don't know, maybe 30. They all stay open. The Amber Valley Police have got no chance.
No chance.
And that's what it needs to come down to. But what happens, unfortunately, is you've got a few people that have got a spine that will stay open, but not enough. So they get picked off. And it's really frustrating. And you'll have those pub owners that are sat going, oh, it is a bit of shame that they got done. It's like, yeah, but what did you do? You sold them down the river by not fighting yourself, and it is really frustrating. I am at that point where I'm actually, I tell you what, I'm at the point as well with businesses that go along with it. There's a few businesses that I know of, speaking to my mum down on the Isle of Wight, where there's no mask exemptions. They won't have them. So you could have asbestosis and you still have to wear a mask.
No way. Is that right?
Yeah. They say it on the door, like no exemptions, no nothing.
And that's against the law, Gaz. That's against the law, yeah.
Exactly. And so I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm not, a vindictive, but I hope you close, actually, because you deserve it, actually. And those ones that are accepting of people with mental health problems or people that have breathing issues and stuff, I hope they survive and I hope you don't. And that's how I get now. And I almost feel like that will be a bit of a survival of the fittest in that sense. If you've got a pair to grow and stand up tall and fight, that hopefully, I'm not a religious man, but if I was, that God will stand with you, basically.
You're not you're not you said righteous anger earlier, and it's a very good turn of phrase. That righteous anger is justified, of course, but you're not a loutish bloke. You're not, a hugely confrontational guy who goes looking for trouble. You must find it difficult, though. I am a confrontational guy. It's a cross I've had to bear. It's got me in trouble more than once over the years. I don't mean violently confrontational, but I've got a big mouth. You know that. I'm a bit of a plonker. I'm finding it increasingly difficult to keep quiet. When you're out and about, or you need to go into a shop, and you get the looks or you get the comments, and I go from 0 to 95, 0 to 100, and it wells up in me, and it's not a good thing. Do you find even a guy like yourself who's more moderate? I think you are anyway. Do you find it difficult to keep quiet?
I'll be honest with you, mate. No one said anything to me. As bizarre as that is, no one said a single word to me in any shops, in fact, I got on a boat and a lady said something as I walked past. She was like, have you got him? And I didn't hear the rest of the sentence. I'd already gone. And, so I'm at a point now, Richie, where, I think I'd be more like you.
Yeah.
I've got to that point now where I've got it in my head, like I've kind of all this stuff. If someone wants to say something to me in a shop, fine. I'm going to hit them with this. I'm going to hit them with that. I'm going to talk about the PCR test. I'm going to talk about Kerry Moss. I'm going to do this. And I had all these things, and then obviously it never happened. No one said a word to me. But I've got to the point now where actually, if someone did, I don't think I'd bother with any of that information. I just think, do you know what? And I'd probably
you might have a go,
because I'm at that point now.
This guy's Gareth Icke is our guest, by the way. I know that most of you follow Gareth on Twitter, so get on to Twitter and look for Gareth. It's very easy to find him. It's at Gareth Icke. It couldn't be any simpler. This is an attack on so many different things, and because of your musical background, because you're an artist and you are singer-songwriter, and when I say I love the album 3, I mean it. I wouldn't say it otherwise. And I love Jura. This is an attack on our souls and our well-being and music and theatre and the arts in general, Gaz. It's so important to society, isn't it? We need it, don't we? We need it for our spirit, for the fibre.
It's attack on everything that makes people happy. It's an attack on joy, and I think that's the whole point. It's to break people. And if you take away, everyone will go, you still have to work, mate, but or the kids, you still have to go to school, but what you can't do is you can't have your release on the weekend. How many people, I did for most of my life, I lived for the weekend. It's Friday afternoon, how long till we're knocking off? She'll go for a pint. Weekend starts now. Yeah. And that's how most people live their lives. And, they work, some like Dolly Parton, they work 9 to 5. And then, Friday night, a few beers with the lads, or, I'll go out for a meal with the wife. And then Saturday, Derby are at home this week. Yeah, I'll meet you, 10 o'clock. We'll have a couple of beers, a bit of lunch, and then we'll go to the game. And, and then Sunday, got a bit of Sunday League football. Yeah, a bit of fitness. That's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
and then, work tomorrow. But when you're in work on a Tuesday, that's all right. Saturday's how many? Wednesday's hump day, innit? Yeah, we're nearly there, mate. And most people live like that, don't
We
they?
do, yeah.
And all they've done is they've just taken that away. They've gone, oh, yeah, arts, music, football. Yeah, we'll have all of that, thanks. But you can have Netflix and as the deliveries. Oh, thank you very much. And I think that's what it's about. It's about breaking people so that when they come out with this vaccine, people will just be so bewildered and lost that they'll just put their arm out, Richie, and just go, just make this stop.
Make it stop. And you worry about that, do you? You worry about we get to next year and the government produces a vaccine that ordinarily might take 10 years to produce. I don't like vaccines in general. I wouldn't take one. I know what your opinion is of them. But is that your concern, Gareth, that they make things so difficult for people that next year they might scream, they might kill one another to try and get the vaccine?
That's the end goal all day long. Absolutely, it's the end goal. I mean, they said from literally the minute that, someone had apparently eaten a bat, they said, new normal was on every single lip of every single politician, across the globe. And when we get a vaccine, they were the two things that it was just constant, and they've been constant throughout. And it's a script, mate, isn't it? So then they're not going to go, next Tuesday. Oh, we are actually, these deaths have tapered off a bit. Anyway, right? Shall we all go to the pub? Yes, please. It's not going to happen. Certainly not without a fight. So I think the time, I've heard it a lot, Richard, where people just sort of, just wear a mask for goodness sakes, 10 minutes in a shop, and then we can all get back to normal. And you just want to go, mate, are you that naive?
We've had a question from Conan, Gaz, on that. He's a follower of yours, Conan there. It's a good question. Why are they so aggressive in some instances, and in other instances, they're not aggressive, but they're repeating over and over, go on, just put on the mask, just do that. Why are they so compliant, so many of them?
I
Fear,
wish
is
I
it?
could answer that, mate.
Fear,
I wish I
suppose.
could answer it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it is fear. I think with some people, and actually, do you know what, mate? I actually sympathise with the ones with fear. I want to get them to look at statistics and actually see that they have nothing to be frightened about. But the ones that are genuinely frightened, I actually have nothing but sympathy for them. And there was a fella here in the last lockdown. He was holding his kid, and he stepped out into the road, right, rather than walk past me on the pavement. You'd rather take your chance with a motor vehicle than me. That's just, that fear is so irrational.
You can't hate him then, or I shouldn't use the word hate.
I can't. Yeah, but do you know what?
Can't be
the
angry.
The ones that get me are the ones that the day before the mask mandate weren't wearing a mask, and they didn't wear a mask for 5 months throughout the whole of lockdown, when apparently everyone was dying, thousands of people were dying, didn't wear a mask. Yet on the day Boris told them to wear a mask, they put it on and then had a go at the guy in the shop who wasn't wearing one or who wasn't wearing it correctly. It's like, hang on, you're in no position. You're not wearing a mask because, it's like that advert, I wear a mask to protect my mates. No, you don't. You wear a mask because you were told to wear a mask.
We're told to, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As simple as that. They're the ones that wind me up more. The genuine ones that have been wearing a mask since February or something ridiculous. I kind of just look at them and just think, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I just want to put my arm around you. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like you need a cuddle or something.
And you, that you know that, I mean, again, you've done personal training, you're a very fit guy. Wearing a mask for any protracted period of time, it's very, very unhealthy. I've heard from medical doctors on this program, and I know you have, who said don't keep one of those things on your face for any real length of time because it's incredibly unhealthy. It's not good.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah,
they're ridiculous things, and they don't work in the sense that they're meant to work. I see people, with a blooming woolen scarf around their mouth. What's the point in that? Do you know what I mean? You may as well put a picket fence across your gob.
Yeah.
The whole thing, a face covering. I saw a guy today when I was out picking up some weights from the gym, because obviously they're shutting, so I just, rented some weights off him. And he's walking along with his visor, but it's flipped up, as if he's doing some welding. But it's flipped up, and he's just walking around. But that's a face covering.
What are you
So
doing?
he walks into Tesco's, and everyone's like, "Oh, mate," but he's he's not covering anything. Like, if we believe it, this doesn't make any sense. And I just almost feel like people are just going through the motions because, you know, an idiot like Matt Hancock's told them to. It is extraordinary. I don't know how much of a weakling soul-wise you need to be to take your orders off of him. That's extraordinary.
Tell us this, guys. Gareth Icke, folks, iconic, ICKONIC.com, davidicke.com as well. Tell me this, are there more speaking events planned in the near future this side of Christmas? And at the same time, tell us a little bit about, I mean, I know all about it, but for people who've only heard of it for the first time today, tell us about iconic.com. There is some very, very good content on there, I must say. Go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure about protest, but I know there's one in Stroud on Saturday. My friend Bruce Fenton sent me a message about that, so they're having quite a bit of stick with the council already with that. Yeah. So if anyone is in that neck of the woods and can support that, but yeah, I'll be popping up. I'll get messages here and there, and I'll be popping up where I can, because obviously we need to resist it as much as we can. As for Iconic, it's everything that you'd want, basically. It's kind of, there's documentaries on there, there's films on there, films like Vaxxed, films that you can't get other places, that's on there. Podcast series, comedy, you got the whole lot. There's mediums on there, fitness shows, like, so the guy that owns the gym I work at, he does a fitness show there where he takes people through exercises. There's yoga, there's just everything, mate. And I've got a new series actually myself that launches on I think it's the 12th of November, called The Walk, which was dead interesting actually. I've always liked walking shows, so like Walking Through History with Tony Robinson.
Yeah, great show.
Like, I mean, he's like a Blairite weasel, but
but it's
the
a
show
good show
itself is great, but the people he talks to are I'm a learned academic, you won't get any alternative opinions on there or anything like that. So I just created the same thing where I go walking. I did like a silly amount of miles because we shot it all in about 10 days, over six days. And God knows how many miles I walked, but just spoke to loads and loads of different people, like alternative people like Bruce Fenton and people like that.
Lovely. He's a lovely bloke, Bruce.
He's a lovely guy, yeah. So we spoke about UFOs and stuff when we went to Stonehenge, and it's like just different stuff that we're talking about, and it was really good fun to film. And I got my eyes opened loads, and like you mentioned earlier, like growing up with this stuff, and even I was like, whoa, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so that launches, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully people will like that. And every day, like, my brother's out talking to people and sourcing and licensing content on top of the content that we produce ourselves. So it's just growing and growing. It's a year old tomorrow, actually, Richie.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I mentioned earlier on less than a couple of years. Yeah, is that right? So just before Christmas last year, I do remember that. I remember talking about it when it was launched and looking at some of the content. And I've had, like I said earlier on, there's been quite a few of your contributors who've come on to promote their own programs and films. And they've been great. It's terrific. I think it's a great thing. So
you had Rich Willett on, didn't you?
Yeah, and he did The Walk with you, did he?
Yeah, he directed and filmed 4 out of the 6 with that, and we have a really good relationship, me and him, and like we do a podcast together, just asking like what on earth's going on in the world and stuff. So yeah we get on. He's obsessed with hedgehogs for some reason, which is like the most bizarre random.
Is he? He's got a hedgehog fetish. We won't get into that. We could get him into trouble there. Listen, it's been brilliant, mate, having you back on. Don't leave it so long. Come back anytime you want.
Mate, I'd love to. Once I was supposed to be in Scotland next week actually recording, but the great Nick Tater is kind of causing problems, but I'd still like to get around to recording some new stuff if I can.
Do. And folks, Gareth's got his own website, garethike.com. The album 3, he's done a lot of albums, guys. I love that album particularly. Do you want to tell people in 30 seconds how that was recorded differently? And I suppose in an esoteric or in a soulful way. Talk to us about the hertz. Talk to us about how you recorded that, just for a minute. I love reminding people of this.
It was recorded in 432 hertz. So most music, well, almost all music is 440. And so I went to Germany for treatment on my back years ago because I'd broken my leg, and so I was obviously holding myself differently, and I ended up getting back problems as a result. And this guy was playing all these instruments at this sort of retreat thing, and I'll be honest with you, Richie, I was bored out of my head.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden he started playing this one, and it was like, hang on, this just feels quite nice, that. And obviously he's speaking German, and obviously I don't understand a word. And then they explained afterwards that it was in a different frequency, and that all music was in 432, and then 440 had been brought in basically by the Nazis, and it created more of a negative emotional feeling in people, and that's why they did it. So we went, right, bang, bang, we go straight back to the root then. So everything I've done since 3 has been 432, every record since.
It's a brilliant story, mate. Give your mum and dad and Jamie and Kerry and your nephews and nieces, and of course Gemma and Alora, all the best. And if you don't talk to you this side of Christmas, Merry Christmas to you and yours, guys. Thanks for coming on today, mate. Loved having you on, and I look forward to doing it again.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks, Richie.
Anytime, mate. You too. Bye for now. The great Gareth, Icke, folks, live on the Richie Allen Radio Show, Wednesday's programme, the 4th of November 2020. Lovely guy. And when I tell you I love the album 3, I mean it. It's a terrific record. You heard one of the tracks from it earlier on, Jura, which is one of my favourite songs by any artist in the last few years. The time is coming up for 4 minutes past 6. In around about 5 minutes' time, we'll be phoning Baden in Switzerland. Dr., would you believe, Thomas Binder, who's a cardiologist, is going to come on and talk to us about why he's been so active on Twitter in recent weeks and months in tackling or taking on the lockdown advocates, why he's strongly disagrees with the measures taken to deal with coronavirus and what he thinks is really going on. He's very, very interesting, is Dr. Thomas Binder. Now, alrighty, okay. What was I going to do next? Oh yeah, I was going to do this. Keep the tweets coming in at Richie Allen Show on Twitter. Good to be with you this Wednesday. Gerald Salente, by the way, has been in touch and will be on the programme with me tomorrow, reflecting on, maybe, on a US election, presidential election, I should say, result. Maybe, we don't know. But Gerald will be here.
Renowned healer Mark Bajerski travels the world to find the most unique and powerful crystals for self-healing. Since the ancient times, crystals have been used as healing tools. They hold a natural healing vibration and are highly charged in positive energy. Mark teaches how to channel the universal energy and transfer it to the crystal to activate its healing power. Each crystal is used for its unique ability to target a different physical or emotional challenge. Mark Bajerski is an author, healer, speaker, and founder of the Pure Energy Healing Academy. He shares powerful messages of inspiration and healing on his daily YouTube videos, reaching millions worldwide. Mark's crystals, healing oils, and incense sticks are most sought after by other healers. His collection is available online at www.markbajerski.com. His work is presented through Lemon House, a company that creates and curates consciously made gifts.